Hey, what's going on everybody out there? My name is Jakejames Lugo and welcome to the channel. So every once in a while we gotta mix things up and break things down in order to get away from what we usually do here on this channel. And what better way to do that than to play a fighting game? I mean, it's kind of inherent in each one of us that we just like every once in a while to see two people go at it and smack each other a few times. And what better way to do that in this case than to play one of the best fighting games ever released for the Neo Geo platforms. Some say the best that ever came out of SNK. I'm talking about the sequel to the Fatal Fury series, Garou, Mark of the Wolves.
Garou Mark of the Wolves is a sequel to the Fatal Fury series that was released in 1999 for arcades. The game has been ported to various consoles, including the Neo Geo and Sega Dreamcast, even taking on the name Fatal Fury Mark of the Wolves a few times. The story takes place about 10 years after the events of the original Fatal Fury, when Terry Bogard defeated Geese Howard and saved the city of Southtown. Things were quiet for a while, that is until a new fighting tournament is announced and brings together people from all over Southtown to participate. There's characters that make a return from previous Fatal Fury games, but we also get some new faces this time around, including the son of Geese Howard himself, Rock Howard. He's a fan favorite amongst those who have played the Capcom vs SNK games that released later on. Anybody that's a fan of the King of Fighters games or has played any of the big Capcom vs crossover games will know about this, but even if you didn't, there's still much to appreciate here. The roster is diverse and filled with personality among the fighters, which is great for just about any fighting game. Luckily for us, the people at SNK have been masters of style in fighting games for years, giving a very tough and worthy competitor to other 2D fighting game franchises of the time.
Now, the SNK fighting games were just as much about style as much as they were about gameplay. While there were a lot of other games released at the time, including the Street Fighter series, Mortal Kombat, and many other 2D fighting games that were really focusing just on core gameplay, the SNK games were really focusing on building up their characters and making them more unique compared to a lot of the stuff that was out there. You saw this with the Fatal Fury series, you saw this with the King of Fighters series, and you definitely see it here with Garou Mark of the Wolves. One of the interesting things though is that a lot of the characters returning from the Fatal Fury series get a redesign in some fashion. Terry Bogard doesn't look like how he did back in Fatal Fury. And even though some of their redesigns might not be for me specifically, I actually like Terry's old design better, they still look really damn good and they still look a lot more stylish than a lot of the other fighting game characters that were released on other games at the time. The other interesting characteristic about SNK fighting games is that the backgrounds themselves are a lot more highly detailed than other fighting games that were released from other companies. One thing you'll notice in Garou Mark of the Wolves is that there's a lot of animation and other things going on in the backgrounds besides all the action that's happening in the foreground with the two fighters that are going at it. I always thought this was very cool and it was very unique to SNK themselves, and you didn't really see that in places like Capcom or even in Midway with all the Mortal Kombat games that were going on. Granted, some of those did have some little things here and there, but definitely not on the same level as what SNK was doing. You see this in just about all the different Neo Geo fighting games, and I think that's a little bit part of the charm with some of the King of Fighters and also, again, Fatal Fury games, much like Garou Mark of the Wolves. So outside of the style and the visuals and the music, which I still think is fantastic by the way, some of the music in this game is pretty top notch. What about the gameplay? How does Garou Mark of the Wolves stand up now?
Gameplay is very similar to any of the previous SNK fighting games. The arcade mode has you fight against an ensemble of fighters on the roster with a bit of story added into it. You get some cutscenes and dialogue that is different depending on the fighter you choose at the start. The biggest highlight here is the presentation. The visuals and the soundtrack are a real spectacle. Animations look smooth for the time and have a lot of details in the backgrounds you might not always notice at the first glance. The controls follow a 4-button arcade layout, with punches and kicks respectively. This is a very different approach towards 2D fighting that many people didn't see back then alongside other games like Street Fighter. Having 4 attack buttons makes things a little bit more simpler with special move inputs, but there's still a lot of depth in what you can do during a matchup. Everybody has their own unique special moves and attacks, all of which are devastating in their own right. While the inputs for moves are fairly similar to the commands of a Street Fighter game, the fighting styles between each character are very different. You're not going to have a lot of duplicates here, which is a great thing for fans who love variety. Other systems make things a little bit more complex for the gameplay, such as the just defense mechanic. If you time your block at the right moment before your opponent hits you, you get rewarded with a little extra health and the ability to counterattack immediately. This forces everyone to be smart with their attacks and can shift the momentum of a fight constantly. There's also the TOP ability, which gives you an attack boost and opens up new moves for your character once your health reaches a certain point. Much of this will get lost on players who aren't looking to be competitive, but what's here works out very well to make a solid fighting game that still remains enjoyable.
Now maybe some of you out there can relate to this, but I was not always a fan of the 4-button layout on the arcade stick when playing different fighting games back in the arcades. I was always someone that really favored the 6-button layout or the 8-button layout that came later on. A lot of this is due to my more extensive experience playing games like Street Fighter or other games that use a 6 and an 8-button layout as opposed to the 4 buttons that you would get with most of the Neo Geo and SNK fighting games. However, with that being said, I still enjoyed what I actually played throughout the arcade modes and other game modes that Garou Mark of the Wolves had to offer. Even if you just have a much more stronger base with other types of 2D fighting games, you're still going to feel at least somewhat at home while playing Garou Mark of the Wolves. It plays very similar to any of the other King of Fighters fighting games that, again, utilize that 4-button layout. However, there is a couple other interesting things that are much more unique to Garou Mark of the Wolves. When you're choosing your character at the very beginning of a matchup, or again when you're starting up arcade mode, you could choose a certain section of your health bar that allows you to open up different moves in your arsenal once you reach that certain point if you're taking enough damage. Sometimes with certain characters you'll get other special moves or you'll get variations on certain moves that they have within their arsenal, but once you get to that point, you'll be able to do more types of stuff against your opponent, and especially do more damage if you land your attacks. Don't get me wrong, however, this isn't any sort of revenge mechanic that you would get in later fighting games released after this game came out. This is a little bit much more balanced than anything like that. However, it is still interesting and unique that you don't really see in other fighting games, and you especially don't see in any of the other SNK fighting games. I also find that playing through Garou Mark of the Wolves is that the game is very difficult overall compared to some of the other games I've had experience with SNK. This is one of those games that is meant to eat up your quarters. Again, if you were going to the arcade, you have to pay 25 cents just to play this game at least one time, and every once in a while you'll hit that brick wall against an opponent where the computer just completely spikes up its difficulty level. This was very common back in the day in arcades because the arcades definitely wanted to get your money, and they definitely wanted you to keep coming back to the arcade machines in order to play more and more while spending your hard-earned cash. So much like any of those other games at the time, Garou Mark of the Wolves has a very steep difficulty spike at some point during the arcade mode. However, if you stick with it, you'll be able to overcome a lot of the stuff that's coming at you. But one of the things I think that is really cool, and is one of the big pulls for this, is that there's a lot of different characters you could run into, a lot of different characters you could play as, varying different fighting styles, and just overall, the presentation about it is just so appealing that you'll love to play this game again and again. So granted, I'm playing this game on the PlayStation 4, which is a re-release of Garou Mark of the Wolves. What are some of the other stuff that people could actually expect from this game?
Unfortunately, there isn't much extra content for Garou Mark of the Wolves. The game was ported to the Dreamcast in 2002, as well as given a PlayStation 2 port that never came to the US. Eventually, the game was brought onto Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network as a downloadable game worldwide, but featured very little extra content. The version I played for this review was on PlayStation 4 and featured online play, which in of itself is a big disappointment for reasons outside of the game itself. It's difficult to battle other people online since hardly anybody is playing this online at all. I'm pretty sure if you coordinated with a few friends to hop onto PSN, you'd be able to get into some fun sessions, but if you're organically trying to play ranked battles or friendly matches, you're not going to get anywhere. There's the survival mode that might keep you busy for a while, but that's also very short-lived. I would have wanted to see more from SNK that celebrated the legacy of the game. Give me another gallery to look at with some more artwork, or some developer diaries, or even some bonus footage that I could dive into. Something that would let me appreciate the legacy of Garou Mark of the Wolves, but also make me want to go back and play some of the other Fatal Fury or King of Fighters games.
It's a real shame that you don't find a lot of other people playing this game online on PlayStation 4, especially since there's so much to love here. This is the thing with most fighting games and their longevity. Eventually, even the most popular fighting games are going to die off, their fans are going to go play something else, and nobody's really going to be playing the game online anymore. However, if you're able to gather a few friends either online or offline and get together to play this game, I feel like there's going to be some stuff that you're really going to enjoy. Beyond that, however, what other stuff really is there to enjoy about Garou Mark of the Wolves? Like any other bonus or extra content that really could kind of, really shine here? To be totally honest with you guys, there's very slim pickings. There's a couple little pieces of artwork, especially the Shinkiro artwork with the SNK brand. Anybody that knows anything about Shinkiro and SNK knows that a lot of the artwork that comes out from him is very beautiful, very awesome indeed. But beyond that, there's really not much of anything else. You're really only playing Garou Mark of the Wolves for the nostalgia factor and a lot of the style and flair that comes with that style of SNK fighting game, or you're playing it for the competitiveness of that, which really kind of is outdated at this point. There's many other different fighting games out there that you could get into, especially newer fighting games from SNK, including King of Fighters 14, but still, if you're really into nostalgia and you love retro games, Garou Mark of the Wolves was one of the best released at its time. So there you go, guys, that's my thoughts about Garou Mark of the Wolves. Again, it's a classic retro fighting game, one of the best on the Neo Geo platforms. If you love the King of Fighters, if you love SNK, and you love something different than what the traditional Capcom Street Fighter style is, this is something that I feel like you're really going to enjoy. But that's just my opinion on the matter. Leave me a comment down below in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Garou Mark of the Wolves. Do you think it's a cool fighting game? Do you love the characters? Do you think some of the stuff that they introduced with these SNK fighters is really a lot more interesting than what we get with Capcom? Put it in the comment section down below. And of course, don't forget to leave a like on this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos just like this one. There's a ton of great videos, including new reviews for a lot of brand new games that you guys could check out right now. Of course, I have to give a big shout out to Jasmine Russell that is supporting me at the Beast tier level on my Patreon page. You're getting shout outs for the entire month on every single video. If you guys want that same type of love, there's a link in the description box below that goes directly to my Patreon page. There's a ton of exclusive content and a lot of other great perks that you guys can get right now just for supporting me on my Patreon. Anyway, I will talk to you guys again very soon. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.
Thanks very much for watching this video review, everyone. I really appreciate all the support as always. Make sure you guys check out the videos I put here on the side, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And also, check out some of the links I have down below. Talk to you guys again real soon. Peace out, and stay epic, everybody.